Y'all, welcome back to another video. So I kind of wanted to do like a follow-up to my previous Bible study video. Um, we were talking about Malachi chapter 3, and there is two specific verses that I kind of wanted to break down a little more than how I did in the video because I really want to hone in and really have an understanding for y'all when it comes to these particular verses and what it means to cleanse and be refined, right? Refiner's fire and soap of a launderer. So this verse, Malachi chapter 3, verse 2, and who was able to bear the day of his coming, and who is able to stand when he appears? He is like the fire of a refiner, and like the soap of a launderer. So we're going to break down those last two lines because I don't know if y'all remember in school when we learned what similes and metaphors were. So similes use the words like and as, right, to compare two things, right? So that first one, for he is like the fire of a refiner, right? We're going to get into that. So the fire of a refiner, how hot it is. Refiners use fire to polish like silver or gold to make it more shiny, to get all the impurities out of it, right? And then the last part, like the soap of a launderer. Well, we know what a launderer does, right? They wash clothes. So this article that I got from BibleStudyTools.com, it says, what is a refiner's fire? A refiner's fire melts down a metal such as gold or silver for purification purposes. Once a metal is in its melted down state, the dross in the metal rises to the top. So dross are like impurities, things that really don't need to be in there, and is then removed from the metal before it cools. Yahuwah spoke this analogy through the prophet Malachi to describe how he purifies our hearts. Just as a refiner's fire, Yahuwah will draw out our dross, our broken, sinful ways, the things that basically have no purpose, right? They don't produce anything. Like there's no reason for them to be there, right? So that we will stand pure and righteous before him, right? So he's taking out all of the impurities, just like a refiner does when they're melting down metals, taking out all the impurities, the things that, make it not perfect. Because Yahweh, he wants us to be perfect. We are to be perfect. We are to be set apart just like he is set apart. So he's setting apart us from our sins, separating us from our sins, right? Just like with metal, it's being separated from the things that make it impure. A refiner's fire does not destroy the metal, rather, it allows the junk within to come up so that it can be removed. A refiner's fire does not consume, it makes the metal better and more valuable. Y'all, the analogy, right? He makes us better and more valuable because right now, like being full of sin, how much value is there really in us in our current state, right? Think about, when someone wants to sell gold or silver, if it has all these impurities, how much value is it really worth? How much do you think they can really get for it? Like with all its impurities, it's going to have less value, meaning that the person's going to get less money for it. This comparison helps make sense of what Yahuwah's redemptive work may look like and accomplish in each of us. Yahuwah will purify us in similar ways. He does not consume us. Rather, being in relationship with Yahuwah draws us to righteousness and away from sinfulness, right? And he does say that he's not going to completely consume us. There's going to be a remnant, right? So think of Yashar as a whole. He is going to refine Yashar as a whole, right? Get rid of the people who are not conducive to the body of Yosha, right? The people who are not bringing anything, they're not bringing any value to it. Those who are devaluing Yashar as a whole, He's going to refine us, right? And then once he does that, he's going to go even deeper and refine us individually, right? Get out all the people who, they're not doing anything, right? They're not helping. They're not bringing people closer to Yahweh. They're trying to lead people astray. Get rid of all those people, and then whoever is left, the remnant, he's going to purify them individually, purify their bodies, get rid of all the sin, all the gunk, all the yuck. Think of like dirty laundry, all the stains. Like, have for example, you have a white shirt. Let's say the white shirt has grass stains on it, right? It has dirt, it has paint, it has all kinds of stuff on it. But what does a launderer do? Well, for one, they make some kind of solution to spray on those stains. They let it sit until all those stains are lifted off of the shirt, and then they wash it to wash all the stains out. That is what it is to be refined, to lift all of the stains of our soul out of our bodies. We can be purified. We can be in our original state before the fall, right? And it's just so powerful. Just this one verse. First of all, we haven't even gotten into the second verse, but just this one verse and half of this one verse is so powerful once you really understand the meaning behind it, right? Yahuwah uses our suffering, our sinfulness, and our shortcomings to refine us just as a refiner's fire, so that the dross within our hearts will rise to the surface and can then be removed. How humbling to stand before Yahuwah with hearts made pure. And think about it. All of our sinful ways, you know, as we grow older, like from a child growing older, we learn what to do and what not to do, right? And so that we don't make those same mistakes again, right? That's part of purifying and refining someone, right? Is using that sin to show, hey, this is not what you're supposed to do. These are the consequences. These are the consequences of doing what you're doing. And when you realize those consequences and you don't want to suffer those consequences anymore, then you're not going to do that same thing. That that sin is going to be removed from your body, right? It's man, listen. When I sat down and really looked through these two verses, really broke them down and did a little research, I realized like, wow, powerful. Just absolutely powerful. So let's look up soap, right? And I talked about this in my last video. So we have lye, potash, and alkali, which is used in washing. But what do these things actually mean? So potassium carbonate, especially from wood ashes. So think about, wood ashes. Obviously, it had to be burned, right? It had to have gone through the fire in order to get ashes, just like with the refiner's fire with gold and all types of metals, they have to be burned and melted down to produce something, right? To get all the impurities out. So just like the wood ashes, like it just the way it goes together is just wild. Potassium or a potassium compound, especially as used in agriculture or industry, right? And industry would be like, the laundry business is an industry, right? So then we have potash, right? So when it was talking about agriculture, these are some synonyms for potash: manure, compost, dung, guano, humus, moll, or mulch, right? Those things are used um, on the ground, right, to produce different types of crops. It could be to grow flowers. It could be, just for decoration around like a house. Mulch, it's all used for different things. Has to do with agriculture, and it's just interesting. Like this whole thing, the whole research process of this was just very interesting. Then we have alkali, which is similar to alkaline, right? So alkali is a soluble salt obtained from the ashes of plants and consisting largely of potassium or sodium carbonate, right? Which is similar to what potash is. And We have alkaline here, and it says of or like an alkali, containing alkali, having the properties of an alkali. So, alkaline, right? A substance such as a hydroxide or carbonate of an alkaline metal having marked basic properties. So, again, same, very similar to potash. It does have to do with the burning of something, right? Because it says the ashes of plants, right? And I think like you have to look at what ashes really consist of. Like when something is burned, it goes from one state to another. So the chemical makeup of that thing changes once you add fire to it. I'm gonna say that again. The chemical makeup of something changes once you add fire to it. I'm just gonna set that there and just think on that. Just think on it, right? So, lie. And this is something my mom said that my great grandmother used to use when she would bathe my mom and her siblings. And lye does burn your skin. It's like the pure stuff, right? And it's going to get you clean. It's going to get you real clean. So, lye is a strong alkaline, there goes that word again, solution, most commonly sodium hydroxide or caustic soda or potassium hydroxide, used in soap making, cleaning, food processing, and paper production. In soap making, lye reacts with fats and oils in a process called saponification to create soap. It is also used to declog drains, strip paint, and even chemically peel and soften foods. Due to its corrosive nature, lye must be handled with extreme caution and protective gear to prevent burns. So I'm going to move back up to the part where it says lye reacts with fats and oils in a process. So something that the Levites had to do was animal sacrifices, right? And the fat, they were not allowed to eat the fat of an animal. They were to burn it, right? Because that is a pleasing aroma to Yahweh, right? The fat represents our sins. And when it is burned, okay, there we go. And it becomes ashes, right? You know, then it's a pleasing aroma to him. It's something burned off, getting rid of it because it doesn't need to be there. Just think about also when we're fasting, our bodies are burning fat. We're being obedient. We're trying to get rid of the sin that has a stronghold on us. It all comes together. It all just comes together, right? And it's still mind blowing even as I'm going through this. It is still very mind blowing to think about, like when you get the deeper meaning of something, especially when you have all these analogies. And that's something I try to do often when I'm studying. It's like go through these analogies, really break them down to see what he's saying because he's painting a picture here. He used analogies to help us to understand better, right? Because using straight talk would be too easy. With analogies, like you really have to understand what an analogy is and really break down what's being compared. It's all a comparison. Now let's put these two verses together. And who is able to bear the day of his coming? And who is able to stand when he appears? For he is like the fire of a refiner and like the soap of a launderer. And he shall sit as a refiner and cleanser of silver. And he shall cleanse the sons of Levi and refine them as gold and silver. And they shall belong to Yahweh, bringing near an offering in righteousness, because the offerings before then were done in unrighteousness. They were tainted, right? They were not purified, they were defiled. Those offerings were heavily defiled, right? And so he's going to sit there as a refiner, comparing the Levites to silver or any type of metal, and he's going to burn away all the impurities and deliver them from those impurities, wash them away, so that when they bring offerings now, they're in righteousness. He wants perfection. He absolutely wants perfection. And people talk about nobody's perfect. No, you can be perfect. You absolutely can. Yahusha was perfect in every way. We can also be perfect. He calls us to be perfect. So that's all I have for y'all. I just wanted to really like break that down and like put these two verses together, put them in perspective, and show you like how deep this goes. You know, I think a lot of times when people read the Bible, they are thinking more surface level. You know that picture of like the iceberg um, that has like the little bit on top and it's like massive under the water. That's what it is. A lot of times people just read surface level. Even like when you go to church, church is very surface level. You have to get below the surface and go deeper because there's so much more that you are missing by not going deeper. So I thank y'all for joining me. I hope this has helped. I hope this has given y'all like a better understanding of what being refined is.